Hello, and welcome back to the Thematic Intelligence Podcast. At Global Data's Thematic Intelligence, we track over 100 tech, industry, ESG, and macro themes impacting all major sectors. I'm Isaac. Today I have with me Martin Rehak, founder and CEO of financial crime fighting startup Resistant AI. Hi, Martin. How you doing?
Very well, nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too. Right. You ready to get into discussing AI fraud?
Yes, that's exactly what we do, and this is a very exciting topic, especially in the last 6 months.
Sweet. Yeah. So, as you say, it's a very hot topic, especially with cases like the 25 million transferred to scammers in Hong Kong after the deepfake video call, which was sort of a, key case in the financial fraud sector, especially. So could you start by explaining what forms this kind of fraud is currently taking that you're seeing?
We see multiple forms, but basically all of them are extensions of the typical or traditional fraud forms that have existed for a couple of years. We see, and that especially fraudsters are using AI to target onboarding processes and to operate at scale. So the same way as you would use AI in a normal corporation, where basically you leverage automation and intelligent models to scale up the people you have working for the company, fraudsters use the same to leverage more and get more out of it. So the typical target of the AI is the onboarding process. It's used as a way to scale out creation of the fake accounts, how to create or steal identities of real businesses, and then basically open accounts with financial institutions globally that are then used to defraud people or to do money laundering. This is the most common and the most typical theme. The second theme is when you actually steal the money. So this is where you go to companies or to people and you use AI to basically produce plausible enough conversations and relationships so as to convince people to send you the money. And these money go from people fooled by the AI to the accounts of the entities that are impersonated by the AI so that they can end up next to the swimming pool or cocktail bar of fraudsters. So
Yeah.
this is the big scheme. Basically, AI doing all of the work and fraudsters benefiting from that work, which is a little bit like a dream. And I think this is where we want the society to end up, but not for the fraudsters.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's working for the wrong people at the moment. I guess the other key question on that then is how widespread it actually is. We hear about these big cases, these high profile ones that make it into the news, but in the financial services sector specifically, how much is this happening?
It's a, it's probably the most common form of crime because it's easy to automate, it's easy to scale. There are a couple of high-profile cases where someone steals 25 million. That's nice. But typical cases we hear basically about every single day, which are not even interesting, are from 5 to 50,000. So if you lose £5,000 or £50,000, it doesn't make the news. And that's the real news is the amount of the crime that's not even reported because it is so normal and it is so boring. If you look at the rates, how these crimes are investigated and where you apprehend the perpetrators, they are essentially zero.
Hmm.
So most of the crimes that are fraud related at the best end with the bank eating the loss and reimbursing the customer of the bank one way or the other. But it typically means with someone walking away with the money and not much money being left for the victim and nothing bad happening to the fraudsters. There are some exceptional cases where the gangs get persecuted, but most of the crime is targeting different countries for practical reasons and convincing the police to investigate a case that spans multiple countries and makes them do 60 different paperwork requests in 5 languages is very hard. So basically, we are trying to combat the crime of the 21st century by using the means of 19th. That's not working very well.
Well, yeah, I mean, that brings us very nicely into the next topic, actually, which is about your company, which uses AI to fight AI, right? Is that sort of the.
That's pretty much the main idea. So we started the company in 2019 when we didn't dare to fundraise any money when we started because it was such a crazy idea. And no one could believe that AI will be leveraged by the criminals to attack the AI systems used by the financial institutions. Because fintech was barely starting and it was becoming common, but no one spoke about fraud, no one spoke about impersonation, identity theft. It was a very small part of the economy. Now it is actually a sizable part of the economy. It is a vast majority of the opened accounts are with fintech institutions, and traditional banks are following with automation. And both groups are being targeted by the fraudsters who have adopted as well. And that's where we need to put AI in front of the AI that's doing the onboarding to stop the criminals from leveraging automation. We don't want scalable attacks. We don't want thousands of fake identities onboarded as customers of banks. And the last and the worst option is that your identity will be stolen and onboarded as a customer of a bank without you knowing. And that's a funny part. It's a very bad wake up when the police wakes you up at 6 a.m. in the morning. That's the typical police hour in many countries. And you end up in jail cell because someone stole your identity and used it to commit fraud or crime. So this is what we try to stop. The way how we do it is also interesting because the danger of the AI is that the attackers are learning all the time. Typically in fraud prevention or compliance, projects are built or used to be built at scale of months. When you have something that's a fast track project, it is getting done within 3 to 6 months, and typically a year. Well, today you have to work in scope of minutes or hours. If you don't fix your system and if you don't fix your process within a couple of hours of you being aware of the vulnerability or someone exploiting that, it's very easy for the attackers to basically exploit your weaknesses at scale. And then at best, you will end up offboarding plenty of people, closing the accounts. And in the worst case, you will actually tolerate criminals on the platform. And we see this on social media. We see this in financial institutions. And we see this a lot in the payments industry.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, using AI to fight AI means that they're both learning at the same time. And there are, potentially a lot more hackers than there are people doing cybersecurity work. And I think that's maybe always been the case, but now it's a lot easier. Do you think that we could see a return to sort of pre-AI levels of fraud? Do you think that this is just something that is going to be more prevalent no matter how good the defensive tools get?
So no matter how good we get in defense, we will never solve. It's basically an unsolvable issue because if you wanted to solve fraud perfectly, you would have to transform the society in a way that I don't want it to be. You would have to basically build a totalitarian state with full control of all of the aspects of the lives we have. Probably not what we want. So the price, that's not worth paying for that. So what we need to do is the second best thing, which means we need to learn faster than the attackers. The criminals are learning very quickly, as you said. The second thing that plays in their favor is that they do have very efficient black markets, where if let's say you learn how to exploit a neobank X and how to create accounts on that neobank. In the old times, you would have to basically design the way how to make money on that. Today, you buy 1,000 or 10,000 stolen identities or fake identities from specialists. You give those identities to specialist services that produce fake ID documents and images of those documents. Then you give them to the impersonation specialist, and they open the account on your behalf, working with the call centers. So you basically contract a professional call center for the criminals to open the bank accounts. And then you take the bank accounts and you sell them to the people who pay, which could be companies or individuals doing money laundering. It could be people who want to violate sanctions. It could be people who want to do any other of the countless financial crimes. Or it could even be used in multiple crimes at once. Because if you take the pain to steal someone's business identity, then you channel the payments through the account. Then you can take the account and the data, and you can apply for a loan based on your basically revenue. And then you actually take an insurance on that revenue and on that for that company. And then you file a claim, and basically you can layer on the crimes with essentially zero risk because
Mhm.
it's not you.
Yeah.
And then someone else is impacted because they appear to be the criminal or anyone who's looking at this officially. So this is the tragedy of AI, is that it allows you to go beyond the imagination of law enforcement agencies, and it basically allows you to steal someone's life online, and that's the dangerous part.
Mm. And unfortunately, we've actually only got time for one more. But I know it's a big topic. But if you could give one piece of advice to financial services firms, maybe to their cybersecurity team or to their management team to secure their business as best they can, um, what do you think is like the most important thing for them to do right now?
So the most important thing is the oldest security concept we have, which is defense in depth. You shouldn't have only one security system, one layer of security. When we design our own system, we are basically designing 5 different layers, and each of these layers has multiple models working with each other, checking on each other's failures, because we know that we cannot win every single time. We cannot stop every single attempt because attackers learn with every single failure on their side. But what happens is that some of them pass through layer one, and then we get them on the second layer. Then we get the real smart ones on the third layer. And in the meantime, we are fixing layer one and two while we are combating them on the layer three. And this is basically our normal day in the office. This is basically every Tuesday. And financial institutions need to build defenses in depth. They need to work with specialists that know what's going on in the financial criminal industry, and they can build AI models fast enough with a quick turnaround to basically be on par with what the attackers do. And last but not least, you should never fall asleep. You should always think that the other side will be smarter. And you always need to have people in control of what your AI is doing. And you need to understand exactly what is the kind of system I'm having my customers go through. So testing and never trusting yourself are the two main pieces of advice I can give.
Well, thank you very much, Martin, for your time and insights. That's all we've got time for today. So thank you all for listening. And from those of us in thematic intelligence, see you next time.